We're back, everybody, with the Volkswagen Up. Do we have everything we need?
Nah.
Are we going to do it anyway?
Yep.
Is it going to work?
It's not going to be a up.
Is it going to work?
Yes. I
You
don't
reckon?
know. No, I don't know.
People, we don't have all the stuff we need, but we're going to try and make it work anyway so the car can drive. I'm very excited, and I'm also trepidatious about the successful nature of this project.
We're playing vag roulette, people. We've got no idea what's going to work from the various vag things, but we're going to get this vag bits and those vag bits and the other vag bits we've got and smoosh them all together and hope that we have a working car.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. This project, if you're new to the channel, we're trying to make Australia's first and only 1 litre Up GTI. Full like OEM, make it mad. Here's the problem, we never got the Up GTI in Australia. You can't get them in Australia, they have them in the UK and Brazil. We've brought all of this stuff over from a wrecker in the UK, Statler they're called. They did a great job of getting us everything we needed. But now we've got 3 different cars. Let me give you the lowdown to get you up to speed of what's going on. This here is the engine. This is from an Up GTI. This here is a 5-speed gearbox from an Up Turbo, 5-speed. That's from a different kind of Up. Over here is what we got in Australia. This is a 1 litre naturally aspirated engine. So we've got 3 different cars. Here's the problem that we have. The Up GTI engine, we don't have a 6-speed box, we don't have the hubs, we don't have the shaft. So that one there, we can't make that work in its current form. This one here is the 5-speed. We've got the shafts, but we don't have the hubs. We don't have the gear linkage for any of them. We do have the gear linkage for the 1 litre naturally aspirated gearbox. So here's what we think we might be able to try and do.
We are probably going to turn the original Up gearbox into cheese. But it means we can drive and use our car. So think of it like you're just swapping the engine, but also swapping everything else. But this gearbox, that came with the original engine, unlocks our ability to use the rest of the car as it is. Because we don't have hubs, we don't have shafts, we don't have anything else, we can't actually use it or drive it. We'd have to wait months probably to get those parts, and we don't want to wait. Yeah. There are some cars in Australia that might share this platform.
Maybe Polo, maybe Audi A1. We're still investigating.
So we don't know. So what we want to do, just to get the project moving so we can continue on with the rest of it, is to use the stuff that we do have that means we can drive it ASAP. So that means later, if we blow that gearbox or we want to go to the GTI 6-speed, we are just changing a gearbox, shafts and hubs. That's it. Everything else will work.
I have found a 6-speed gearbox, but I haven't found the linkage, haven't found the hubs, haven't found the shafts. So for now, we're going to be getting the non-turbo box, mating that to the GTI engine, and seeing how quickly the clutch fries.
Pretty much, or we blow up some gears, but it means we can use and drive the car and also make sure everything else works so that by the time this thing's driving around, even if it's got the original gearbox, the whole rest of the car will work. We can test everything, make sure it works, and then when we get our 6-speed box, either locally or from overseas, we can whack that in, and then we got a bit more strength.
First step, we're going to pull this gearbox off. If you're getting the sense that I've got a lot of uncertainty about where we're up to with this project, then you'd be right. This platform in this car is pretty rare in Australia and nobody has done this conversion before. I mean nobody. And there's a few good reasons, but the primary one being that in other regions of the world, if you want an Up GTI, you just go and buy one. Making your own makes no sense at all, but I will not stop until this thing's driving on Australian roads. All right, we have got the gearbox off.
Awesome. It's so little and cute.
There was one sneaky little bolt up here that we didn't see.
Inside the starter motor thing. I've never seen that before. Normally the bolt just goes through the starter, through the box into the engine. Instead, it's got a bolt behind the starter motor. Never seen it before ever.
If we can successfully mate up the naturally aspirated gearbox to the GTI engine, then we'll definitely need to upgrade the clutch. This here is the engine from my Volkswagen Up, the original 1 litre naturally aspirated. We've now broken off the gearbox, which is over there. That's what Marty has. Next step is we are going to take the 5-speed gearbox off here. Hopefully we can do it while everything's still in the car. That would be a little bit simpler. Otherwise we'll pull the front off. Then we'll put them next to each other, compare them and see if the clutch and flywheel configuration is the same or if it's different.
I managed to get all but one of the clutch bell housing bolts out, but I can't get to it. Maybe there's some magic trick to it, so I think what we're going to do is just pull this front bit off because it's just a couple of plugs and connectors and there's no coolant or fluids in it anyway. Pull that off, which will give us access to all the bolts and be able to, it means we can just like pull the gearbox out and forward.
Okay people, this is where we are at. This here is the 5-speed turbo box. This is the naturally aspirated box. We thought we might be able to do a swap and the outcome of that is, drum roll please.
Fail burger. We don't think it's going to work. You might be able to fully pull these apart and change like diffs and change the front bit of the bell housing and really dive deep into it, but I don't think it's going to work. One of the main differences as well is that the shafts that go into the NA box are a lot smaller, so you can't actually use your standard shafts that we have with this box. So even though this box bolts to our engine, we can't use those shafts. We can't use this box on our engine because it doesn't bolt to it, and it makes sense. I mean, it was never really intended to. It looks like some of the bolts might line up, but you start putting less bell housing bolts than you're supposed to in there, and it's like diminishing returns, I think, as opposed to trying to get the original stuff.
I think what's kind of confused it is this kind of addition of, you know, got normal up, there's up GTI, and now we've just got this kind of middle of the road up turbo, which is just kind of a different flavour in the mix. We don't have all of the stuff to make this work, so I think actually this gearbox here will go in the bin, and now what we explore is getting everything we need to finish off the GTI conversion, which will be gearbox,
hubs,
drive shafts, hubs, brakes.
Assuming the shafts that we have are not the same as GTI, which they might be, but we don't know. So we're going off part numbers and VIN codes and stuff at this point because we don't have the cars to actually look at. If you're doing a conversion like this, it's like back in the day you get front cuts. The reason you got a front cut was you got everything.
Yeah.
You couldn't get this thing as a front cut, so it got individually wrapped as you saw. But there's stuff missing. It's hard for the wreckers to know because they don't know exactly what we're doing, or we don't exactly know what they're doing because we haven't done it before.
Yep.
And that's the reason why. So now we've got to like, it's like getting a puzzle, a 500-piece puzzle, but there's 426 pieces in it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's just those extra bits that means you can't finish it. That's what we're up to.
It's been about 6 weeks since we were sitting right here on this very piece of floor, deflated.
Like that.
Not anymore. We brought the energy back. Do you know why?
Pumped. It's the opposite of deflated.
Pumped up because overnight parts from London.
In it.
Hello, Jamie Oliver. Who else do we know from London?
No one. Hey, we should unbox this.
Let me just do a very, very quick shout out. I rang a bunch of wreckers in the UK. I'm like, I need some parts. I rang this wreckers. A guy called Chris answered. I go, hello, I need some parts for my up GTI. And he goes, is that Mighty Car Mods? Straight up.
How do you know?
I don't know, but I'm assuming that there's not many Australians trying to find up GTI parts right now in the UK.
Correct.
Chris, thank you very much. I said, are you in like a little like backyard wreckers? He works for some massive wreckers that has thousands of people that work there, and he's like, let me know what you need. I'm like, what I need is a 6-speed GTI gearbox and a steering column, and he's just like, I got it, sending it over.
It seems a bit more organised in Europe and the UK than it is here. With wreckers here, you've got to call 10 of them, and they always answer the phone the same way. Wreckers.
Yeah. Whereas they can't do that in the UK. Do you know why? Breakers. They call breakers over there. Anyway, this is an unboxing, but we're going to keep it quick because I want to see what I've actually got. So let's just...
Oh, you should do this and watch this. You should do like a...
Watch this, guy. We're going to go full TikTok style. Check this out. This here, people, is the missing link. Not the gear link, but the gearbox. This is what we've been waiting for all this time, a 6-speed up GTI gearbox. What are we going to do? We're going to undo everything we've already done in there. We're going to pull it out. We're going to put this gearbox on. We also needed, this is a very strange looking box for a steering column.
Look at this packaging, dude.
That's amazing. This here is the other thing we didn't have, which is the steering column. Why did we need to replace this? Because our key barrel and steering wheel module from the GTI didn't fit on the naturally aspirated one. This here is meant to fix that. There's a lot more going on here than I thought, actually.
Electric power steering, that's interesting. So that's your electric control box, and that's the motor. So all gone is the hydraulic steering of old, and all the assistance comes from this gearbox and that motor on there.
And then here, we will be mounting our stuff that didn't mount on the other one. This is very, very exciting.
This is reach adjustable, right? Like that's what all this is about.
Yeah,
maybe it'll just reach or just tilt or whatever.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to pull all of this stuff out and off. Anyway, and guess who's coming to help us today, everyone? Guess who's coming to assist?
Someone smart.
The master. Some people call him the... They don't. Everybody, it's Miles. Why is Miles here? He's the smartest man in the room. I've told you that. It doesn't matter what room you're in. If he's in it, you're dumb. There it is. He's going to help us. He knows about Volkswagen things. He just made an Amarok recently that you can't even buy and doesn't exist in the real world. More info about that later. Hello, Miles. Thanks for coming down. All right, let's pull this out. This gearbox is from a legit 6-speed up GTI in the UK, and acquiring this has been a huge step in the right direction and will be the golden goose of boost, laying down multiple turbo eggs. I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest. I'm just too excited. My mate Aaron has also dropped in because I'm slowly winning him over with my VW enthusiasm, and with many hands, we're making short work of taking the engine out again. We're dropping it down onto our engine table, which will make it easy to attach the gearbox and maneuver it in and out of the car once it's complete. So the engine is out again, and what is evident now is just how small the turbocharger is. Look how little it is. So much fun, yet so small.
Integrated exhaust manifold, so the head doesn't have like a manifold that bolts to it. The turbo bolts straight to it. Same in like modern Civics and stuff. It's very modern. But check out the size of the exhaust housing and the turbine. I don't know if you can see that. We'll get a close-up of it.
Let me get some light on
But
there, Martin.
it's like the size of a $1 coin, which is 25 millimeters. That is freaking tiny, but it's a tiny engine. It doesn't flow heaps of air, but this will pump heaps of boost, and you've also got direct injection to help really like put out the flame, prevent detonation, and you can just tune them hard.
Yeah.
Which is how they get so much power and performance out of such a tiny engine. And it's worth remembering, it is tiny, it's also light. Lightweight's good. The more and more I deal with it, the more I realise that like the whole add lightness thing, that's a thing.
Yep. Maximum fun. So while we are at this stage, I do have another clutch, so we're going to put a new clutch on there. It's just basically a factory replacement equivalent clutch. And then we mount the gearbox on, and hopefully if everything's correct, then that gets done. And then we will look at the linkages. This is the other thing that we've been waiting on from Germany. We'll get, I'll explain to you what's going on with that shortly, but for now, let's throw the clutch on, throw the box on, and get to it.
If you've got your engine out and you're not sure how many Ks are on your clutch, it's the best time to change it. So we're from Australian Clutch Services, which are the same guys that do Extreme Clutch, which we've used in our K24 Honda, the Lavorg, and a bunch of other cars. Same people. There it is. All new, including the fork, which is awesome as well. So any wear on that goes away. We lube this up, make it nice, put the bearing in, clutch cover and disc. Good to go. The fork, the bearing and the slide are the same as the non-turbo ups that we got in Australia. So these parts were available locally and will be running this 220mm clutch disc. With the clutch installed, I can smash my shin removing the old clutch fork, and then we can replace this along with the slide and the bearing. With all of that done, it's time to return this gearbox to its rightful place, mated up to this glorious 3-cylinder turbo engine. Now it's all back together, we can stick it all in the car. This moment has been months in the making, but finally the GTI engine and the 6-speed gearbox are installed in my Volkswagen Up. I am so excited because all of the missing pieces have just arrived directly from Volkswagen in Germany. So I just want to give a massive shout out to Todd Ford from Volkswagen in Australia. I rang him, I know he loves ups as well, and I was like, there's a bunch of stuff I don't have. I haven't been able to find at Wreckers anywhere. He put me in touch with someone at Volkswagen who put me in touch with someone with Volkswagen in Germany, and I managed to buy all of this stuff and it has just arrived. So what have I got? Well, over here, this was the main thing that I needed. This is the 6-speed GTI gear linkage. So going from the gear stick, the whole assembly, I think, and I hope that's what's in there. We also have the drive shaft. We also have the GTI hubs, which I bought as well, which is very, very cool. I also have, I thought while I'm at it, may as well get the GTI brakes. Look at these, nice and big and epic, big calipers there. Plus, big vented discs, look at that, which is amazing. So that should be, along with everything that I got from the original Wreckers at Statler, and along with the stuff that then, the gearbox and those things, I think this should be everything that I need. Now, you may be wondering by this point, because I know I was, how deep am I in this project? This is a car that I think I bought for around $7,000. I'm about $25,000 deep currently. Not including labour and time, I'm about $25,000 deep. So
Why would someone do this project? It makes no financial sense at all, but this is very much an emotional currency that I'm riding on, and enthusiasm, of course. So anyway, these are all of the parts. So the next thing that we're going to do is pull out the old 5-speed linkage, make sure this is the correct one, and then just keep on going with the build. I'm very excited. I told you before, it's the best car in the world. I think it is. It's the best car to me, and I'm very excited. The next thing to do is remove the shifter linkage and make sure it fits both the car and our 6-speed gearbox.
All right, Miles, we have the 2 shifter boxes here. They look the same to me. Are they?
Some bits are, some bits aren't. So
Looks like the same. Oh, no, they are different here.
yeah, this is just like a newer casting. This may have more movement because it's got an extra gear in it.
So for anyone who's wondering how these shifter things work, when I go side to side, so left and right, it moves one cable and then forward back. So it's the combination of theirs first and second, now back to neutral, third, fourth, across, fifth, sixth. And see how it's like going from there to there, and then reverse has some lockout. I don't actually know where that is, but it's going to be some combination of above. So yeah, GTI one. We have it now.
We have it.
So we'll jam it in and see if it works.
Well, we have to take these off that, and hopefully these fit the box because they didn't come with it. So hopefully that's another trip to Germany.
Fingers crossed. Let's have a look.
Hello.
I'm happy to say that this gear linkage is a proper Lego style swap. A few bolts and we now have a 6-speed linkage with reverse lockout in the right place. Next up, we're going to be looking at the brakes and a turbo back exhaust. So because we're swapping over to a turbocharged engine, this one here comes with a dump pipe. So this here is the part from the Up GTI that we imported originally from the UK. But while we are at this point of the build, we may as well just do a proper turbo back exhaust. So Miltech have sent me a full system all the way from the turbo to the back of the car. It's a stainless system. So this here is obviously means the car's capable of making some more power, less restrictions and things like that. Plus it'll look great. I got some mad little black tip to go on the back of the exhaust on the muffler there. So this here will be going on soon. I'm going to focus on the other things first, but the reason that I'm getting this down now is because I want to get the dump pipe and just put it in a position while there's a little bit more access there. So I'm just going to put that in. The rest of the exhaust I'll do later. I just had a look at the packing slip of this, and this is how long this project has been going. This exhaust arrived to us almost 18 months ago. That's how long this project has been on the boil. So anyway, I'll get the dump into position and then we'll kick on with everything else. A turbo back exhaust is one of the best ways of unleashing the full banana from your car. And combined with a tune, which multiple companies do for the Up GTI now, this little Up will become a rocket ship capable of transporting you 17 wormholes away in just the blink of an eye. We're currently investigating the hubs, and it looks like the Up GTI drive shafts will fit the original Up hubs and brakes. This has actually turned out to be a very good thing because while I did order the GTI calipers and rotors, I didn't know that I also had to get the GTI knuckles as well. So I don't actually have everything I need to do the GTI brake conversion, but this compatibility means that the project can continue. Our next step is to throw on a brand new oil filter, and then we'll bleed the brakes and top them up with fluid so that they're functional. Then we can start reinstalling the front of the car and the wheels can go on. These wheels will have to change eventually once there's a big brake kit on there and those massive GTI rotors. One of the things that's making this a really challenging project is that we've done lots of cars since we worked on this car last time.
Heaps.
So different bolts, different things, different setups, like trying to find where I left everything and I lost some things and then we find them at random strange places.
Yep.
But anyway, engine's in, gearbox is in, wheels and tyres are on. We can't do the brakes yet. We actually don't have all of the pieces that we need. We've got like the rotors and the calipers, but we don't have the knuckle.
The knuckles. So when you order stuff from Volkswagen, you get exactly what you order. So if you order a drive shaft, you get a drive shaft. You don't get the nut on the end, you don't get a washer, you don't get anything else, you just get that. We know that now, so there's probably some other bits we have to get. We can do a brake upgrade later. Happily, the shafts fit the box and our knuckles.
Yeah, which is excellent. So currently everything's getting connected back together. Miles is here just being a boss because that's what he does. Look at him go. What a legend. And then we'll move on to some wiring and interior and then maybe even see if we can get it started. The battery tray configuration for my Up will not fit with the new GTI parts in place, so that needs a massage with a grinding disc so that our battery can fit in.
So I've got to change the steering wheel out to be able to get the knuckle in the right position so I can loosen it off. Once I get that off, then I'll be able to take these two bolts out that are holding the column in, unplug it, swap it out, put the up GTI one in there, and do the reversal.
One of the complications of this build is not the swap itself, it's that the two cars are a generation different, so there's some slight variation in the parts. The base car is a 2012 model, but the GTI model is 2018, so any changes that took place in the factory during that time will affect how easily these parts can be swapped. In the case of the steering column and associated parts, they're different, and that's something we're slowly investigating to see if we can get a combination of parts to work.
While Miles is working through that, I can optimistically fill up the engine with Castrol Edge. This car is going to be excellent at its daily duties, but it's also going to be hitting up some track days, so this here is the oil of choice. Meanwhile, back at the steering column, things are not looking good. We've run into another compatibility problem that may stop us in our tracks. Of course, it's not going perfectly to plan, not by fault of any of the clever people in the room. Let me tell you what's going on. This here is the steering column from the GTI, which is compatible with this key barrel and key from the GTI. But it's not compatible with any of this stuff that's from the up. So we want to start turning the key to see what kind of error codes we're getting. But for us to do that, we're going to have to use a combination of steering column and bits. So we're going to leave this one on the floor, plug some of this one in, but then leave some of that one plugged in, Miles, as well. Yeah. And then we're going to maybe dissect some keys and see what happens if we try and turn the key. It's just, it's been a big few months working on this car. And we need to plug this in also so that the car thinks that it has the correct dash component in it. So I'm going to plug that in. All right, Miles, I'm going to let you get back to doing whatever your clever things were that you were doing in there. We've installed the battery, so now we can try powering up the car for the first time and seeing just how many error codes we're going to get.
Technically, the car's got power now. We're going to just try and switch the vehicle on with this. We're going to leave the combination switch off for now. Plug the car in, turn the key, plug in a scan tool, and see what error codes appear, and see what it's grumpy about, see what it does or does not like, and then after we've done that, we can try and work out what we're going to do with this, whether we dissect keys open or we make a combination of lock barrels and steering columns and things like that. And yeah, hopefully then just start working through codes.
Great, and hopefully it doesn't catch on fire.
Well, it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
And it's got power, so, you know.
The day's young though, Miles.
50% there.
The day's
50%
young.
there, yeah.
We've now got the GTI column, GTI key barrel, GTI key, and GTI cluster. So we turn the key and it powers on. There's lights on the dash and no smoke, which is a great start, but there are countless error codes. That was to be expected, but now we can't actually start the car. The ECU on this model needs the clutch to be depressed, and our clutch doesn't have the switch in it that'll make this work. All right, we've come to the end of another day on this car. A couple of things that we've realised we need that we don't have that we'll probably have to get from Germany again. Also that there's a clutch switch that's not compatible with our pedal box, so when we try and start the car it says depress the clutch, but we don't have any way of actually depressing it. Pretty deflating, really, actually. Just the scale of this, throw an engine in and throw some seats in and you'll be right. It's just absolutely huge. It's an absolutely massive project. See you next time.